Hi, and welcome to the Thrive Alcohol-Free podcast. I'm Dupe Witherick, alcohol-free wellbeing and transformational coach, and the best-selling author of A Cocktail of Clarity, How to Ditch Drinking, Embody a Joyful New Identity, and Thrive Alcohol-Free. This podcast will show you that being alcohol-free is not what the traditional narrative says. And even though alcohol is so ingrained in our society that it is okay to give yourself permission to stop drinking if you want to. And you do not have to wait until you hit rock bottom. It is certainly not boring, and I believe ditching drinking is just the start to living an extraordinary life. By getting rid of this one thing, it allows the doors to open to endless possibilities and opportunities. Each week, we will have guests on who are at various stages of the alcohol-free journey, from those who are curious to those who have been alcohol-free for years. We will also have experts on talking about different topics relating to alcohol and beyond. Through these conversations, you will discover what it means to thrive alcohol-free. Enjoy. Hi, and welcome to the latest episode of Thrive Alcohol Free podcast. I'm so pleased you're here, and we are in a new month, and the clocks went back last weekend. So yeah, it definitely feels like autumn, winter is in the air. And so as we're in a new month, I have an exciting giveaway that I am offering. So November's quite a special month for me. It's the month where I decided to take a 21-day break from drinking. And so that was what will be 3 years on the 9th of November. So it's a really special month. And so as a company, as Thrive Alcohol Free, I'm really keen for us to focus on the mission and helping as many people as possible to really have a chance to explore what their relationship with alcohol is at the moment, whether or not taking a break is the right thing for them to do, and just have some space to think about it. So we are offering free, absolutely free, no strings attached coaching sessions, one-to-one coaching sessions with me to do just that. And so I am offering a 45-minute A Cocktail of Clarity session. And as I said, it's really for you to have some space and time to think about, what does alcohol mean to you? Is it serving you? Is it something that you maybe want to think about taking a break from? And just have the 45 minutes to think about that. And so, as I said, it's absolutely free. You just need to book it via the link that is in the show notes, and you can find a time that suits. And I'm looking forward to speaking to you. So I do hope you take up this opportunity. As I've always said, taking a break from alcohol, you are not giving anything up, you are only gaining, and just so many amazing opportunities come your way that you wouldn't believe. And I just encourage you to think about, whether or not something like this will be helpful to give you a bit of a kickstart. So as I said, the details are in the show notes, and I look forward to meeting you and speaking to you. Okay, so I'm excited to introduce you to this week's guest, which is someone who's doing a very exciting thing again in the month of November. And so I am speaking to Maggie Klaassens, who is a mum of 3 young children. She's a health coach and a former wine enthusiast turned sober drinker. She's also the host of the Sober Summit, and she created the Sober Summit to help other middle lane drinkers, she describes them as, to rethink their drinking and see what life could be like without alcohol. So many of the authors, podcasters, and influencers that are speaking at the summit, and they're 24 speakers, so it's going to be a fully packed 3-day event running from November the 8th to the 10th. Many of the speakers are the reason that she's actually alcohol-free today. So her goal for the event is to really bring all these incredible resources together in one place to help educate and inspire others to live their best life alcohol-free. So as you can imagine, I am fully for this and think it's an incredible opportunity for you if you are sober curious and thinking about whether or not taking a break is something you want to do, listening to these speakers will be amazing, and they are also providing resources that I'm sure will no doubt be helpful. But regardless of where you are on the journey, whether you are a couple of days alcohol free, a few weeks, a few months, or even a few years alcohol free, it's always good to be inspired and to remind yourself why you are doing this and why you have made this decision, this choice to be alcohol free. So I do hope you enjoy today's episode with Maggie. And without further ado, let's go into that. Hi, so welcome, Maggie. I'm so pleased you're here and that we get to speak again. And, why don't we just go straight into it? Why don't you introduce yourself and, tell us a bit about your story?
Oh my gosh, thank you. First of all, thank you so much for having me. This is amazing. I'm so happy to be here and to tell my story and to be able to tell my story, because I feel like that's so important in your sober journey, is listening to other people's stories and telling your own story. It's so helpful. And this is such a great community to be a part of. So yeah, hi everyone. I'm Maggie Klaassens. I am a mother of 3 kiddos. I live in Virginia in the US. And I am the host of the Sober Summit, which was a brand new online virtual event that happened in April of this year. And now we're hosting another one, a holiday edition one coming up soon. So yeah, a little bit about my journey to sobriety. First of all, I never identified with being an alcoholic or hitting rock bottom. I very much was a sophisticated wine drinker, right? I had graduated from my college days of shots and beer during the day or whatever it was. I remember going out on St. Patty's Day. We started really early, that kind of thing. I had graduated from that. I was very sophisticated mother of 3 drinking wine in suburbia. I didn't feel like I identified with someone who had an issue with alcohol. And it wasn't until the pandemic hit when I found myself without a job, at home with my 3 kiddos. And at the time, my youngest was 9 months old and my kids are only 3.5 years apart. So I had 3 kids under the age of 4 at home. My husband got really busy with work when the pandemic hit. And I fell into this whole mommy wine culture. I was already in it, let's say. I was definitely already in it. I felt like wine was very much a part of who I was. I'm in the hospitality industry, so I work in hotels. So food and beverage and, traveling, they all go hand in hand with food and booze. So I very much felt like it was part of who I was. But when the pandemic hit, I found myself needing that glass of wine at the end of the night. And that was my reward for getting through the day. It was my time to connect with my husband. It was something I looked forward to every day. And I think, like many of us during the pandemic, we gave ourselves this grace to do that and didn't think twice about it. So that 5 o'clock happy hour started to creep up to 4 o'clock. And the fact that alcohol was a necessity over the pandemic, I could have cases of wine delivered to my house. And so I just found myself starting to question my relationship with alcohol when I started to get very territorial over it. So my husband and I would open a bottle of wine for dinner, and I would want to make sure that I got my fair share. Well, that's odd, right? Why do I need to make sure I have my fair share? Or if he finished the bottle and then said, oh, we don't need to open another one, I thought I would gasp. What do you mean we don't need to open another one? Like, I didn't get my fair share. And I remember one distinct night when I was upstairs giving the kids a bath, and he was downstairs cooking and listening to music and drinking wine. And I got very, very resentful of him. Because I wanted to be downstairs drinking wine. I hadn't even taken my first sip yet. And so I found myself being angry with him. And it hit me like, this does not seem like a very good relationship with alcohol. So you kind of start questioning yourself. Not only that, but I was feeling like I was on a hamster wheel, and part of it was pandemic, right? And then the other part was I wasn't doing myself any favors by drinking every night, and I wasn't sleeping well, and I'd wake up and having to do life all over again at home, stuck at home with 3 kids. Life just felt unbearable, and I had foggy brain. I always said that was just being a mom, right? That's mom brain. That wasn't alcohol. That's just mom brain. All these excuses you give. You're not you're tired because you have 3 kids. It can't be the one, all these excuses you'd give yourself. And it's so funny because my husband and I oftentimes would say, well, we're going to cut back. We'll only drink on the weekends. Well, Monday, 4:00 would roll around, and how quickly we'd say, we make up an excuse. Oh, we're having Italian tonight, or it's raining, or, oh, work was so hard. Whatever it was something. And it was very hard to actually follow through on those rules. So I just found myself caught up in all of that, and starting to be aware of what that actually meant. So then I started doing the research and reading the books, the Quit Lit books. Didn't even realize that existed. And listening to the podcast, and I started filling that space with messaging that it's okay to make the life choice that alcohol isn't doing you any favors anymore. And in fact, living a life of sobriety can make you into this superwoman that you've always wanted to be, right? Like this is a secret superpower that a lot of people have, that maybe this was the answer. So I read This Naked Mind, and Annie Grace's book is brilliant, and it worked. The day I finished reading it, I said, I'm done. But that only lasted so long because I didn't do the work, right? It lasted for 2 months, and I didn't continue with that messaging in my head. I didn't pick up the next Quit Lit book, and I wasn't listening to podcasts at that time. I just kind of found her book and thought, okay, I'm cured. I'm done. This is it. And how quickly your old patterns and behaviors and habits creep back in when you don't continue to do the work and to fill your mind with that messaging that alcohol is not needed anymore. So it was another year after that I decided, okay, let's give this another try. And that's when I found the podcasts, and I read more Quit Lit books. And my downtime was filled with that messaging. And so I gave it another try. I did a 100-day challenge, and that was all I was going to do. And by day 101, I felt so incredible that I thought, not only am I not going to go back, but now I want to do something and give back to other people, because this is something that's just too great. I now feel this confidence I've never felt before, this authenticity I didn't know existed. I don't live life in this hamster wheel anymore. Sure, life still gets lifey, right? Life is always going to get lifey, but I could manage my stress in a different way. I was more patient with my kids. And I just, that brain fog went completely away. I slept better. If the kids woke me up in the middle of the night, I could go right back to sleep. I just had more energy. And I thought, this is a superpower that everyone needs to know about. And so the idea of the Sober Summit came about because I actually had attended a couple of summits in the health and wellness space. And I thought, if there are this many summits around health and wellness, there's got to be one on alcohol. And when I searched for one, there wasn't one. So I thought, okay, how do we make this happen? You hear stories of people writing books like yourself, running marathons, climbing Mount Everest, traveling, whatever it is. There's people who remove alcohol and then do amazing things. And I thought, well, maybe this could be my Mount Everest. So yeah, so we launched the first Sober Summit last April, and it was incredible. I feared it was only going to be my mom and my husband joining me. And we had over 5,000 people from around the world attend, which was incredible. And we had guest speakers like William Porter, Andy Ramage, Annie Grace. I mean, it was really, really incredible to be able to interview these people who had helped me in my sober journey. It was a true reflection of the people and the resources that I used in my first 100 days and beyond. And I just wanted to take all those resources and share them with other people.
That's such an amazing story, Maggie. And, you know, it's so inspiring because, as I've said to you before, you know, I think with setting up the Sober Summit and just being on such a mission and getting so many amazing like people to speak was fantastic. And you did that, and that was your superpower, wasn't it? That was your application of your confidence and your authenticity and your wonder. So yeah, well done you. I think it's brilliant. We'll talk about the Sober Summit. I'd really like to sort of go into that. But before that, I mean, your story, I'm sure so many people can resonate with that. And, you know, the whole not being an alcoholic, not hitting rock bottom, but then realizing you can make a choice. And that's what I talk about a lot, you know, the fact that it can be, you can choose, you can make a decision to stop drinking. And lots of people just don't know that fact. And especially when you're in that sort of mummy wine culture as well, it's so rammed down you with memes and with WhatsApp groups and with all of that. And especially during the time of the pandemic, it was all over the place, and it continues obviously now. But what would you say to anyone who's listening, who's in the middle of that sort of mummy wine culture and has been, because I imagine you were probably questioning things, and you talked about the fact that you were beginning to think, hold on a minute, I'm being really territorial about this. I am sort of not wanting, you know, my husband to finish off the bottle because I want it, or I want him to open another one. And all of those, you know, it's over time. This doesn't happen overnight. But the fact that you were actually conscious to that, people probably have that sort of niggle or nudge, and they may be questioning it. But what would you say to anyone who's maybe listening and is in the middle of that but doesn't really know how to do what you've done and take that step and move forward, other than Annie Grace's book, obviously?
Yeah, I mean, the resources are out there, right? So I feel very lucky that there are the resources out there to help you through that. But I will say my biggest piece of advice to people, and this is the question that I asked myself or told myself, you know what life is like with alcohol. I knew how I felt. I knew how I was showing up in this world. What I didn't know was what life was like without it. Not truly. Had I gone a few days, had I gone a week, sure. Right. And I think everyone can relate to having stints of being alcohol free. Maybe they've even done a whole month with Sober October or Dry January. That's fantastic. But do you truly know what it's like to be free from alcohol? Because oftentimes what I find is that with the 1 month stints is that people are white knuckling it, trying to get through it, counting down the days until they can drink again. That's not freedom from alcohol. And, you know, when you find yourself anticipating that 5 o'clock time, or not knowing how you're going to get through something without alcohol, whether it's being a parent, whether it's a wedding, you know, whether it's celebration where you're promoting, you got promoted at work, or whether it's a bad day, right? Whatever it might be, it can be a positive thing or a negative thing. If your first inclination is to go towards alcohol, right, you do start to question yourself. And I would just challenge everyone to think to themselves, do I truly know what it's like to be free from that? You know, there are people in this world who can take it or leave it. But I would say 70% of us fall into this gray area drinking, where we have created, whether it's a slight dependency or just a ingrained habit of drinking, that I feel like you just need to look at yourself and realize that there's an opportunity to see what it's like on the other side. And you can always go back, right? No, you can always go back, but try it, because I feel like the 100 days, that really gives you a good taste of what it's like to be alcohol free and to have that freedom from alcohol. And then you can decide.
Yeah, and I'd agree with that. I always say do the 100 days and see where you go from there. And so interestingly enough, you did say on day 101, you suddenly realized how great you were feeling. So what were some of the benefits that you'd seen over those 100 days?
Oh my gosh, it's incredible. Have you ever seen the meme where they say me before alcohol and then me after alcohol, and before it's an old lady and then after it's like them, right? As they are in their, at that stage in life. That's what it feels like. I mean, so many different things. I think sleep is one of the most important things.
Mm.
So my sleep was exponentially better in the sense that too, I mean, I had young kids, so I was being woken up on a nightly basis from somebody who needed something or had a bad dream or whatever. And I wouldn't be able to go back to sleep afterwards. And it was horrible because I just was running on empty all the time. So afterwards, I could go right back to bed and I didn't have any problems. I also had more energy. I felt like I was more patient with my husband and my kids. And that brain fog was a big one for me. I blame that on just having kids in general, just being a mom, because they do say mom brain, right? But I think that has a lot to do. If you ask all those moms who feel the mom brain, are you also drinking? Because that's probably the major cause of it. So yeah. And then I just, listen, the thing that struck me the most, because those are all things that kind of come very easily and you can kind of anticipate. The biggest thing that I got from it that I wasn't anticipating was this sense of authenticity. And, when you're drinking alcohol, especially in the way that many of us do, where you go off to college, or uni, do you guys call it uni?
Yes.
And you're experimenting, you're exploring, you're, first time off, out from home, and you're now old enough to be an adult, and adulting means drinking alcohol.
Yeah.
That's the time frame in life when you're supposed to be figuring out who you are. I don't think that I truly figured out who I was until I removed alcohol, and that's when the mask came off and I was able to really figure out, like, who do I want to show up as in this world? And what removing alcohol does is it creates this big wide open door that just, the only way I can explain it is when I was drinking alcohol, I felt like I was having tunnel vision. Like the world was small.
Yeah.
And now it's so much bigger and the sky's the limit and I can do whatever I want. And well, I can't really because I have 3 kids and a husband and a job, but you know what I mean? That sense of just confidence of I like who I am.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something I wasn't expecting, but I feel very confident in who I am now.
Yeah. And that's an amazing thing to be able to see, because so many women especially look in the mirror and don't like themselves, and they
Right.
struggle to say that they like themselves or that they love themselves. And you ask the question and it is a little bit, I don't think I do, or I'm not sure. And then the other question that you ask people is, what do you really want? And people can't answer that. And so I think you raise a really, really good point. And to be able to say that I like who I am is actually really powerful. So
It is. It's
that's
so empowering.
Brilliant. Okay, and so loads of benefits you've just mentioned, which are fantastic, and I do like the fact that you weren't anticipating the authenticity piece. You've talked about confidence as well, so maybe we can talk about how has your confidence changed, because and then we can probably lead that into the summit, because I imagine prior to stopping drinking you would never have thought to create a whole new summit in an area or an arena that it doesn't exist, right? This was brand new. So
oh my gosh, absolutely. So I never wanted to be the face of the summit. Let's just be clear. A lot of people find out when they remove alcohol that they're not that extrovert they thought they were. They're not the life of the party, right? Yeah. I get my energy from being at home, with my husband and my kiddos, and just that's where I get my energy from. So being on podcasts and interviewing authors and influencers in this space and experts, that was, not my intention. I actually pitched the idea to a few podcasters thinking, oh, well, they know how to interview people.
Yeah.
They'll do it, and I'll just be the back end. I'll just do all the website stuff and the marketing, and I'll launch the thing for them. So yeah, I never anticipated to be the face of it, but I was given the opportunity because I actually couldn't find anyone to do it. And I thought, well, I wanted to see this through because it was a passion project for me, and something that actually helped me continue in my sobriety journey. Because if you do the math, I started this, 5 months into sobriety. So I was still fairly new, but I was also very confident that I wasn't going back as well. But every time I interview someone, it's almost like a personal conversation with that, with that author or that podcaster or the influencer. And I get so much out of it. And it's so funny because after I interview somebody, my husband will say, well, how'd it go? And I'm, oh my gosh, it's so good. I can't wait for everyone to listen to it, because it is so amazing, to your point, to hear other people's stories. Yeah. Whether you fully resonate with them or not, you learn something from them, and you learn something about yourself from them. And then, listening to people who have been and gone through this before you and have these tips and tricks and just inspiration and motivation, it gives me goosebumps actually to just think about it, and that's why I wanted to put this together. And it's really a collection of resources, not only for attendees, but also for people who want to give back in this space, to have a platform to do that. So we have big names like an Annie Grace and a William Porter. We also have people that you've probably never heard of, but that are amazing. I mean, incredible, inspirational people who have a story to tell and have a message to share. And the Sober Summit gives them that platform to be able to do that. So I feel very lucky that this has been an incredible experience, not just for attendees, but also the speakers as well. It's been a great community. And this is such an incredible community to be a part of. Everyone is just trying to do the same thing and raise everybody up, raise awareness to sobriety, and try and normalize it, because it's not something that we need in life. So how can we all work together to promote that same message?
Yeah, and it is amazing. I mean, the majority of people who have actually gone on this journey, maybe hit day 100, don't go back, do they? They want to, and then they want to shout it from the rooftops, and you want everyone to know that this is the best thing you could do, and this is the best kept secret, and why isn't everyone doing it? And then you go out on a Saturday night and you see all these people drinking, and you're like, why are you doing this?
Right? It's really it's difficult now when you're so aware of it, the marketing messages, the well, I look at it too, like in movies and in TV, but then I look at all the celebrities that are becoming sober, and you're going, well, wait a second. That's a message of its own, right? Exactly. If that many celebrities are choosing not to, or coming up with their own products. So yeah, it's a very interesting space to be in. And I think too, that, there are lots of ways to give back. So people who have gone through their 100 days and do feel very confident that this is the route that they want to take. I mean, you are going to be a lighthouse for the people around you, for your family, for your friends, for your community, for your kids. That was really important to me, was I didn't want my kids to watch me come home from work and pour myself a bottle of wine. What message am I sending that to them? And so that was really important to me. But I feel like there's just it's a big space, and we're growing. That there's going to be a lot of opportunity for people to give back and to help other people follow in our footsteps. So it's an exciting space to be in.
It really is. It really is. It's world changing, isn't it? Really. I mean, fundamentally, if you, to your point, whoever is doing this, whoever's listening is on the journey already, or is about to start, has suddenly been inspired by you, maybe, Maggie, and thought, actually, I'm going to I'm going to take a break for 100 days and see where it gets to, you are going to find your life fundamentally changes, and it will change for the better. And I do believe that there's a gift there that you don't even know exists that will come out, and you'll just amaze yourself and surprise yourself. And I think that's what I've found with so many people I've met along the way, and inspiring people like you. So yeah, thanks, Maggie. I think that's brilliant.
Oh, you're so sweet.
So why don't we talk about the Sober Summit? I'm so excited. The latest one, the holiday edition. So why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, so it's really funny. I got such great feedback from the first one that I really wasn't anticipating. I mean, I was hoping it was going to be successful, and I was hoping that I'd get one message from one person that said, this changed my life. But the amount of messages that I received from around the world, it was incredible. And the thought of waiting a whole nother year to do another one just was like, I can't do that, because I missed it, right? I missed interviewing people and being part of the community in that way. So the idea of the holiday summit came up because, so this is only my second sober holiday. I had my first sober holiday last year, and I wished I had something like this before I went into the craziness. And we've got a lot of holidays in this time span. So I'm trying to hit it early enough in early November so that people who are celebrating Diwali, Hanukkah, we got Thanksgiving here in the US, we've got Christmas, we've got New Year's. I'm sure I'm missing quite a few, right? There's so many holidays in this period of time that I just want people to know that not only is it possible to go through a holiday alcohol-free, but it is the best gift you can give yourself. Yeah. And again, if you don't know what it's like to have a sober holiday, try it, because right, you know what it's like to wake up hungover and not feeling great, and you know what it's like to go to holiday parties and make a fool of yourself. I mean, you know what you've done in the past. And this is an opportunity to help inspire and motivate people and give them some tips on how to navigate the holidays so that they feel confident going into it, and they have some tangible resources to do it, and to do it really well, and to love it so that they can continue right into dry January, right? Yeah. And it's for anyone wherever they're at in their sober journey. So that's the other thing, is I wanted to make sure that from everyone who attended the Sober Summit in April, that they could come back to this one and it would be new and different and have different speakers, different messaging. So it's wherever you're at in your sober journey, I think you can get something from this, and everyone can use that dose of inspiration, motivation at any time. So
yeah. And that's the thing, you're constantly learning, aren't you? It's never sort of done. It's to your point, when you did your first stint, your couple of months, and then went back to your normal life, and then it took another year, it's because you weren't hearing those messages, as you said. And so no matter where you are, if you're just starting, it's going to be a brilliant resource. But I always think even 2, 3, 4 years down the line, just picking up a Quit Lit book or listening to a podcast episode, it just keeps you on that sort of path, doesn't it?
Oh gosh, yes. You don't ever want to get complacent, because I feel like that's when you stop growing as a person. And it feels so good to turn around and look back and say, wow, look at what I've done in the last, 100 days or a year or whatever it might be. But yeah, you're right. It's never ending in the best way possible. It's just an opportunity for continued self-development and becoming the best version of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. It is ultimately personal growth, isn't it? And that is what fundamentally people don't actually realize. When you go on this journey, it is a journey of just getting to know who you are and learning and growing, and just not knowing what's next and knowing it's going to get better and better. It's fantastic.
It is.
So fantastic. I think I'm curious, because you mentioned that last year was your first sober holiday. So tell me, how was that for you?
It wasn't bad. It wasn't difficult. I should say, I don't really remember, to be honest. I don't remember it being bad. I remember it being really good. I don't remember having, challenging times where I'm like, I need that drink. I was far enough into my sober journey where I didn't feel that. I felt a little sense of FOMO, you know, at like Christmas dinner or Thanksgiving dinner. But honestly, that after 20 minutes, I feel like I had the tools in my toolbox to reach into to figure out how to get through those times. But from the other perspective, it was a fantastic Christmas with my kids. So I have very young kids, so 7, 5, and 4. So they would have been 6, 4, and 3 at the time. And it was the very first Christmas where I felt truly present with them. And I felt just as excited as they were, right? It was just a different experience for me than other holidays where you're kind of dreading it and you're like, oh, I was just excited for them to wake up at 6 a.m. as they were. And it was just, I just remember just feeling the love and being present with them, enjoying each gift that was being opened and not feeling like we're just trying to get through the next thing and get to 5 o'clock so I could have my drink, right? I was enjoying every moment. And I felt like that was very special. And I felt that too from my kids, because I think that they don't realize it at the time, but I think that they can sense when you're altering your own behaviors when you're drinking, right? They don't recognize what you're doing, but they can sense it if you're not interacting with them at their level, especially for something as big as Christmas is, right? I was down on the floor, opening gifts with them and playing with all their brand new toys. And so there's that just connection there that I feel like I haven't had in the past with them, which was incredible. And then also I just took care of myself. So I wasn't overindulging in all the stuff, you know, and I was taking mental health breaks, and I was, you know, getting out and going for a walk, and it just felt really good. It's a different type of Christmas when you understand all the mental, emotional, and physical benefits of what sobriety does for you, and to continue on with that routine and those new habits, because it does make every situation just so much better.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts a bit more on that, because I think that I talk about this a lot, but self-care and taking care of yourself. And so you know, I always say, you know, could when people are thinking about do they want to take a break, it's could life be better physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, whatever, financially, without alcohol? And if you think potentially yes in one of those areas, then, you know, take a break and see how you go. But what would you say are the 3 things that maybe you are doing now that you weren't doing before when it comes to taking care of yourself?
I think the biggest thing is self-awareness. That was something I didn't realize came with sobriety. So now, and when I say self-awareness, it just means I'm more in tune to everything around me, including what's going on with me. So when I'm stressed, now I can recognize what that is, how that feels, and anticipate what I need before it becomes something that's much bigger than myself, right? And when my kids are going through something, I can be empathetic and get down at their level, and I can talk through it, and we can share what our emotions are as we walk through that, versus, you know, I hate to say it, but when we grew up, it was like, oh, you're fine, stop crying, just, you know, you're good. So I would say self-awareness is the biggest one. And that's kind of an umbrella to everything underneath it, because the self-awareness piece, I understand when I need physical exercise to get up off my computer and go for a walk. I understand when I'm tired and I just need a mental break, or I need to go meditate, or I just need to step away. I know when I'm overwhelmed, right? So with the holidays specifically, it can be incredibly overwhelming, especially when you're around a lot of people and you're not used to that, or you're doing a lot of small talk, and it's only fun for so long. You know, you need that sort of mental break, and to be self-aware of what you need in every moment, and also be self-aware of what other people need. When you're drinking, you're only worried about yourself and that drink in your hand. Like, you aren't really recognizing what's going around in the room or what's happening, or, you know, it's a different feeling. So I think self-awareness is the biggest one. And that's kind of the umbrella of what encompasses all of self-care for me, is just that awareness piece.
Yeah, amazing. And yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think you are the being fully present and sort of aware and focused are key benefits that I think so many people find early on, and it just continues. So no, that's really good. Okay, so let's dig into the summit a bit more. So what topics what can people expect first, and what sort of topics, how long is it going on for? And yeah, tell us a bit about it.
Yeah, so it's November 8th through the 10th. It's a 3-day summit. So the setup, if you joined in April, is the same. So it's a 3-day online event. It's free to attend. We have 24 speakers, so we have 8 interviews a day. Each interview starts with that speaker's story. So they'll share their story on sobriety. And then there's a topic that each speaker is as we're talking about. And the thing with that too is that what's different from April is I had each day was a theme. This whole theme is holiday related. So every topic, we've kind of brought it all circle back to the holidays, and what does that mean for the holidays? So there's not a theme each day. The whole theme is holiday related. But yeah, it's really exciting. We've got some incredible speakers. So 2 speakers that are the same are William Porter and Andy Ramage. They are staples in, the sobriety world, and just phenomenal men that have so much to give. William Porter is a wealth of knowledge. So, I mean, he could literally be on every summit for the next decade and have something new to talk about, because he's just so great.
Yeah.
And Andy Ramage is such an inspirational speaker that he always has something motivational to share. So he's going to actually be talking about how to set goals into the new year. And then we have some new people, 22 new people. So we have Bex Weller and Sarah Rusbatch from Australia. We have Keola Rains, who's speaking about how to stay active over the holidays. Suzanne Warai, who's talking about the need that you don't need to hit a rock bottom. So I think like that's really important, that people understand you don't have to hit a rock bottom to remove alcohol. We've got it's fun. We have Sarah Kate from Canada. She came on and we did sort of, I want to call it like a cooking show, but it was with mocktails. She has 3 different recipes, and we were making mocktails together, and it was just so much fun. She got me out of my office and into my kitchen. So that was really fun. And then we've got, let's see who else. We've got, I'm trying to think of, we've got Derek Brown. He's an interesting fellow as well. So he came on, his job is to develop menus with non-alcoholic beverages. So I had him come on and talk about how to pair your holiday dinners with non-alcoholic beverages. And it was such an interesting conversation, because he actually talked about how alcohol gets in the way of pairing with food, right? Because it can be so overpowering that a lot of the times when you're pairing it with food, you're trying to work around the alcohol, which is so interesting to me, because everybody's always, talking about, oh, you pair this with this, and it's just part of our culture. So yeah, it's really exciting. So we have a lot of amazing speakers. Again, it is free to attend, in the sense that you have 24 hours to watch each day's videos. And then you can, of course, purchase the All Access Holiday Pass, which gives you extended access for a year of all the interviews, a private podcast to listen on the go, because I know I like to listen to things when I'm driving around the car or taking a walk. And then the speakers were so incredible. They contributed over $600 worth of bonuses. So we've got courses and memberships and challenges and books. And I mean, it's just incredible. They were just so generous with their resources and sharing it with this audience. So I'm really excited about it.
Sounds like it's going to be absolutely amazing. And Yeah, wow. I think it would have been brilliant to have when I stopped, a few years ago. So you've created something incredible.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm excited for it. I just think it's such a great resource for people. And to then also have those bonuses if you get the extended pass, that's brilliant, isn't it? It's they'll have resources for the next 6 months or so to keep them going. So
yeah, I realize it's a lot to listen to 24 interviews in 3 days. It's not possible. So, looking at the schedule, picking out your favorite speakers or topics and just prioritizing those as you're looking through the 3 days. And then buying the All Access Pass gives you the opportunity to listen to them at the right time for you. So oftentimes, as we spoke about, this journey is a never-ending journey in a good way, right? It's constant self-development. So being able to go back to speaker stories that were inspiring to you, or topics that maybe don't resonate with you today, but will in the future. So it's a great way to kind of have this toolbox in your back pocket so you can tap into it at any time.
Fantastic. Well, I do hope you, if you're listening, you sign up and you join, because this sounds incredible. And I know the one in April had such rave reviews that you don't want to miss out on this one. If you missed out in April, definitely go to the link and access it. Fantastic. Okay. So we always end with the question, what does thriving alcohol-free mean to you? And you've obviously covered so many things, but in a nutshell, what would you say thriving alcohol-free means to you, Maggie?
Yeah, so I think we touched on it a bit, but thriving alcohol-free to me is freedom. And what I mean by that is not having that noise in your head of making rules around drinking, feeling disappointed because you drank when you said you weren't going to, having that conversation in your head of how many have I had? Did I already have my half? But how much did he have? Did he have his half? Right? It's just this constant noise in your head. And so thriving alcohol free to me is that freedom that you get from not having to think about it again. And now your thoughts are, how do I show up in this world and be the best version of myself? And that feels really good.
Brilliant. I love that answer. It's great. Freedom is the word, isn't it? It's fantastic. So okay, so how can people get in touch with you? That's a key thing.
So you can go to the website thesobersummit.com to sign up for the event. You can also follow me on Instagram at the Sober Summit. And if you need to get in touch with me on email, it's hello@thesobersummit.com. And I'd love to connect with anybody. So yeah, reach out. This is my favorite thing about hosting this event, is just being able to talk with so many incredible people in this space.
Yeah, brilliant. And is there anything you'd like to leave the listeners with before we close?
Oh gosh, the only thing is, you're here listening to this, you are on your way and you can do this. I know you've got so many people in this world that are going through the same thing you're going through, that can be there to support you. And this community, as I mentioned, is just an incredible community to be a part of. You can find your people. They are out there. There's lots of different groups and communities to join. And I'm always here for you as well. So just keep doing it. Try to see what life is like without alcohol. And I promise you, you will not regret it.
Such wise words. Brilliant. So if you're listening and you're on the edge of taking that break, listen to what Maggie's just said, and go for it. You can do it. Well, thank you. It's been such a pleasure speaking to you.
Bye. Thank you so much for having me.
Take care. Well, thank you for listening to this latest episode. I do hope it inspired you. I was really, I find Maggie really infectious, and hopefully you're inspired. And if you are curious, or you're in the early days and you're at the beginning of taking a break from alcohol, remember that this is a choice. This is something that you've decided to do. You haven't had to wait until you hit rock bottom or something really negative happens in your life, but you can, you've taken the break, or you can take the break. And so many benefits come from it. And, a few of the ones that Maggie listed were the fact that she sleeps better, that she has more energy, she's more patient, there's no brain fog. And then the sense of authenticity was her biggest surprise, really knowing who she was and liking herself. And I think that is, really key. And so if you'd like to experience any of those benefits, then I absolutely encourage you to take a break for what, however long you think you need to. 100 days is a staple, and a lot of people and clients that I've worked with find that if they take that break for 100 days, that does make the difference. But you don't need to do 100 days. You can start with a week, take a break for a week, take a break for 21 days, take a break for 30, 60 days, and see where you get to. Anyway, I hope you were inspired, and do sign up for the Holiday Sober Summit. There are going to be some amazing speakers, as you said, 24 speakers, including William Porter, who was on my podcast, and Andy Ramage as well, and lots of other amazing speakers. So I do hope you sign up. All the details are in the show notes for you to sign up. And and let me know how you get on if you do attend the summit. Anyway, that's all for this week. And I hope you have a really good week, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Take care. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Thrive Alcohol Free podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe so you get alerted every time I drop a new episode. I'd love it if you could rate, review, and share this episode. Feel free to tag me on Instagram at Thrive Alcohol Free and follow me for daily tips. If you would like to work with me, I offer one-to-one coaching sessions and have my signature Thrive Alcohol Free Society group coaching program. If you're not yet ready for coaching, I also have a self-paced online course, which is a companion to my book, A Cocktail of Clarity. All the links are in the show notes. I will see you in the next episode. Have a wonderful week. Take care.